We produce loudspeakers and also amplifiers and all that, not because I want your money. I produce speakers because I want you to enjoy music. I want to deliver the joy of playing music to the world. Start again.
Yes, please, sorry.
One thing I designed for is that I believe that music should be shared. Should be shared with your friends, should be shared with your family, and it shouldn't be a solitary activity to listen to music. So a lot of what I do with the design is to, like for example, to create a very, very wide sweet spot. Every single one of the Genesis loudspeakers, you can sit with your wife, you can sit with your family, you can sit with your friends, and everybody gets a good experience with the Genesis, with the music. And in order to be able to do that, the Genesis speakers, because of the ribbon tweeters we use, and also because of the servo bass, can be listened to loudly, but can also be listened to very softly, and you do not lose any resolution or any detail. Many speakers find it difficult to do that because the woofers need a lot of power to move, the tweeters also need power to move, so you can have a minimum volume you can listen to music at. Whereas with the Genesis designs, you can listen to it very quietly and you don't lose the bass and you do not lose the high frequencies. So that's two big advantages of the Genesis speakers. The third is that everybody in your family or all your friends might have different taste of music. So the Genesis speakers and the design objective is so that it can play all music equally well. Be it jazz, rock, electronic, loud music, soft music, chamber, orchestra, to be able to deliver all music equally. And that I call absolute fidelity. It's a transparency that you can put any signal you want through it and it'll deliver it to absolute fidelity. We do have other product lines, but the other product lines are just to support the loudspeakers. For example, we've got a line of power amplifiers, and the power amplifiers are designed to work very, very well with Genesis speakers as well as for other loudspeakers, but we primarily custom make them and they are sold to customers and dealers who need a power amplifier that's transparent enough if they don't have access to one. So the Genesis power amplifiers we believe are very, very good. However, they are not promoted and they are custom ordered because they are to support the loudspeakers. We make a line of cables as well, and that's because some cables are just not transparent enough to deliver what we want to deliver. My latest product is actually a phono stage, and that is where some of the philosophy comes in, because a phono amplifier, because of the RIAA equalization, does tend to color the sound and does tend not to be transparent because of the loading as well. So I designed the phono stage when I couldn't find a phono stage that I thought was transparent enough, and hence it is again another custom made product, and it is custom delivered only to dealers and customers who want to order it. The Genesis Forte is one of those rare speakers on the market that is a line source. You see, it follows on with the philosophy of what we do. We want the speakers to be shared. So if you want the speakers to be shared and you've got more than 2 or 3 people, you may want to sit in rows back and forth. With a line source, when you double the distance, the sound pressure only goes down by 3 dB. With a point source, where you double the distance, the sound pressure goes down by 6 dB. So if you've got 2 lines of people sitting listening to the music, and you've got the first row with a line source, the first row might be too loud, the second row might be a little bit too soft. Whereas with a line source, the first row and the second row, you might get almost the same sound pressure from the loudspeakers. So the big advantage of a line source is that you can sit at different distances and you get almost the same volume. The other advantage is because of that difference in volume, you also have a much wider sweet spot than with a point source. With a line source loudspeaker, I find that I can create sweet spot that is 4 times larger than the point source loudspeaker. You also don't have a difference when you've got different heights, because within a line source, as long as you're within the height of the line, you get exactly the same sound. So you could be sitting much lower, you could be a much taller person, you could be a much shorter person, and you get the same sound, whereas with a point source, that is almost impossible to do. Good sound depends on the music. I believe that a good sounding system has to have no sound. That is, whatever you play, it has got to display the sound of the music that you play. Some music, for example, can be harsh, other music can be very smooth, it could be warm. You could have a singer with a very bright voice, you could have a singer with a very rich voice. The system should not impose its sound on the music. So in my opinion, good sound for a system is as transparent as possible. Good sound for a musician, that depends on the music and that depends on the musician. You know, the music that I don't like might have a sound that somebody else likes. As long as I don't color the sound. I know that there are a lot of audiophiles who feel that, oh, a warm sound is better than a bright sound. But if the music is bright and you make it warm, I believe that's the wrong way to do it. If the music is warm but you make it bright, again, I believe you should not do it as a loudspeaker designer, as a systems designer, even when you're assembling systems together. So to me, there's no such thing as a good sound. You either are transparent or you are coloring the music. And I'm not a musician, I'm not a mixing engineer. I don't believe that I should be imposing my sound on the music or the mix. There's electronic music that I love, and a lot of that music is digital, was created digitally with sampling, with mixing, with a digital synthesizer. And there's a lot of analog music that I love. You play real instruments, you play a violin, you've got a voice. A voice, unless it's created and sung by a robot, is always analog. So I always go back to analog. However, analog is difficult and it's not that easy to do analog. For example, that's why I spent 18 months designing a phono stage, because to amplify that cartridge signal into something large enough to deliver to a preamp is not easy. It's not an easy task. Digital music is also very tough. How do you turn the analog sound into digits, then turn the digits back into analog? So for me, it is not really a medium. I believe that right now, possibly the best reproduction might be to get a master tape from the studio, play it on the tape machine, and that will give you the best sound. That's analog. However, tape also has got its problem. You know, you can't easily go to track 5 on a tape, for example. You cannot jump around in a tape. Tape machines are very expensive, not expensive, but they are very difficult to find good quality ones. To me, the digital is all about the convenience. When I'm traveling, I cannot have my piles of LPs or my piles of tapes, so I bring a USB stick that might have a few hundred albums on it. So for the convenience and for the ability to get really good sound, to me it's digital. But for the real ultimate is analog tape, and to an extent records as well. But then you have got the inconvenience of hunting down that first early pressing. You've got the inconvenience and the expense of where are you going to find the tapes? You know, if you're not a good customer of Wooties, where are you going to get tape? The only places I've heard really good tapes are when the tapes are a very low generation copy. And the ability to get low generation copies is just not for the normal person. So for that, digital and LPs are the go-to sources for me. Depends on what you want me to talk about that album. I mean, when Woody and I first started thinking about doing an album, we just wanted to see how far you can go to making the best possible album that we can use to demo. And to me, there were a few elements. Number one is Bernie Grumman. I think he's the best mastering engineer out there. The Michael Ross, he's one of the best recording engineers out there. And the process that gets you closest to the sitting in the studio is the direct to disc. So when we made that album, we wanted to make the best. So we did a direct to disc inside Bernie Grumman's studio using one of the best engineers that we know. And we enlisted the services of one of the best musicians that I know who is capable of doing it. Now you've got to realize that a direct to disc is like playing live, except that when you're playing live in a concert hall, when you make mistakes, people tend not to notice. But when you're recording, you have to be live and perfect. That is a very tough act for a musician to do, and we believe we managed to find a musician who could actually pull it off, and hence we made what we think is one of the best recordings that we could do. The music may not be to everybody's taste, the musician may not be to everybody's taste, but we believe that we have brought the closest fidelity to what was in the studio at that time, and that is Anne Bisson, Trio, Four Seasons, Jazz, Live and Bernie's. I think to or not only Thai audiophiles, but audiophiles around the world. I design and make gear for you to listen to music, Don't listen to the gear. I know audiophiles who have 3 records and then they use that to evaluate gear. That is the hobby of listening to gear. To me, the enjoyment really is the hobby of listening to music. I want to play all sorts of music on my equipment and not use a few pieces of music to enjoy equipment. I use my equipment to enjoy gear. We produce loudspeakers and also amplifiers and all that, not because I want your money. I produce speakers because I want you to enjoy music. I want to deliver the joy of playing music to the world, and it would not be very good for me if you tried to listen to my speakers, because my speakers are as transparent as possible. My speakers are for you to enjoy music, not for you to enjoy gear. Thank you.